All right, Vance, take it away.
Okay, so Article 9, I know there's a lot of different colors on there, so I'm going to explain them real quick. The blue are areas that we agree on. Yellow would be areas not changed from our original proposal. And green would be language that we did change. So Section 1, you can see that we agreed on some of that language. Section 2, we've changed it, lessened the days a little bit. When we agreed on probationary employees, maybe disciplined or discharged for any cause deemed in good faith. Section 3, we made a slight adjustment. Want to be clear that we're following the just cause. Obviously, you can see the green stuff that we did change. We combined A and E. E is actually struck. You can see the change there. B, we changed the language a little bit, trying to reflect what we heard from you guys, what we saw in your counter proposal. C, we already agreed on. We move on down. Section 4 agreed on. Section 4, number 4, however, there's a minor typo in there. It actually should read examination of witnesses or a formal hearing may not be required.
It's actually correct on theirs.
Sorry, Kai actually corrected your version. I don't have it correct. So basically, you can assume that we don't want to examine witnesses unless we request it. So what's that going to be, like 10% of the time, right? Section 4-5, I guess. We left in shall be offered. We want to do that because that's what's already happening in the relationship we have. We want it to stay that way. Assistant superintendent and rate card director. And then the rest of the language in this article is agreed on. Are there any questions?
Nancy, are you able to track that? And do you have any questions?
I wasn't to be able to track that most today, but I'm looking at the proposal itself. I guess when we go down to the list of insubordination or neglecting duty, why are we limiting that to resulting in serious injury or major damage to district property?
Did you guys catch that question?
I did. I can speak to that, Nancy. We're trying to. So neglect of duty could be anything. Insubordination could literally be anything. Supervisors having a bad day, tell somebody to do something, and they're rude, and so they're mad. They get their back into it. Now they're saying no. Now, unless it's unsafe or illegal, they should be doing what they're told, and there could be discipline involved there. But it should be not something that we take somebody's job away from. It should be, more of a progressive discipline, if anything at all. We're trying to keep it from being so wildly open that it could mean anything for those two categories, and just narrowing them down a little bit. Because if somebody's doing something that causes these problems at that level, where they're damaging things and they're being, well, we used to have gross insubordination in there, but we took that out because we didn't want it. But we're trying to just kind of narrow it down a bit, so that we're talking about is really something that is, it raises to the level of, discipline, not something that's just somebody having a bad day kind of thing.
Well, you have language here that says progressive discipline shall be conducted in the following manner. So we've got progressive discipline language here. So that means that if it is a minor thing, that the discipline would be, at the level of a written warning, maybe, or a written, that's not disciplinary under this. I think we have an agreement on that.
Right.
But, it would be at the level of a written reprimand, probably. But we'd have to follow the progressive discipline provisions of the contract. So, I mean, I think what you've done is you've limited insubordination and neglected duty so much that there'd be all sorts of categories that wouldn't be covered. So we tell an instructional assistant that, you know, your responsibility here is to ensure that the student has their physical needs met in terms of going to the bathroom, etc., being fed throughout the day. Now that might not result in serious injury if they fail to do it. It wouldn't amount to major damage to district property. But that's a very serious matter. And so there's no way we could accept that language. You know, we have to have the ability to require our employees to do their jobs. And so, you know, your protection here is the fact that we can't jump and then an arbitrator could look and see whether or not there was progressive discipline followed. There are those things that are real serious where you could jump to dismissal immediately, and that might be major damage to district property or serious injury. But there's all those other disciplinary actions in the meantime. So I think that you're not considering the other things that are already in the language in the way of guiding the level of disciplinary action that can occur.
Yeah.
Okay, I can understand what you're saying there. Maybe it'd be helpful to have some carve-outs, you know, things that we can discharge you for, you know, this, that, and the other. Maybe we need to, rather than have, this, it's kind of poorly written, this article. Maybe we could have it as a carve-out, essentially cardinal sins, you know, things you can't do. You know, you don't get progressive discipline for, and then have everything else be progressive discipline, right? Maybe that would make more sense, because insubordination through progressive discipline, I think we could see your point. Even neglect of duty, the real concern is that are we going to jump to a discharge over that? Because it says, you know, that you can, right? It says you can, it said maybe discipline or discharge. So maybe if we clean that piece up and label out some things that these are things you can be discharged for, and these things you have to follow progressive discipline. Maybe if we look at doing something like that, or if you guys do in your counter, we could try to resolve the bigger concern that you're bringing up here under this article.
Well, I think that, you know, again, your protection is ultimately with an arbitrator. If the district has failed to exercise progressive discipline, you know, there's a standard there that arbitrators have used forever, which is that, you know, the discipline has to be proportionate to the offense.
Right.
Or it has to be multiple times. You keep doing the same thing over again after you've been disciplined a little bit, and then you had a harsher discipline, and then, you know, you're still doing it again. So that language, you know, is meant to, I guess, give you the assurance that there's going to be some outside neutral party who's going to look at these decisions that get made. The list up above, I mean, I guess in many ways, is more informative than anything, but I don't think that we need to go into those kind of details about what's big enough for a dismissal. Every situation is so different, but I guess, you know, you have indicated in many ways that you'd like trust the arbitrator to reach the right result, and that's why you got that language in there about progressive discipline.
Yeah. If I could add two quick things. One, Nancy, Drew thinks he fixed the problem, and I did send you another link. So if you want to try that. The other thing I want to ask about is the cross out of misconduct or violation of district policies, rules, or regulations that are sufficiently related to employment. You know, I know that might feel like one big catch-all, but I think the key to that that is sufficiently related to employment. So, for example, Vance and I were working on a pretty delicate one right at the start of the school year with an employee, and you know, there was some news was made public about employee outside of work, I examined the situation, and although there were certainly some concerns related to, what was made public, really couldn't sufficiently relate it to the employment, even though, it sure kind of raised some eyebrows and stuff. So I think that while I understand there may be a concern about the broadness of that first part, I think you're pretty well protected by the fact that I've got to prove that whatever the violation of those things were are related to your employment. If that makes sense. If I can tie a direct correlation between a misconduct of district policies and their employment, then I ought to be able to, have a standard and hold people to it.
Yeah, and I appreciate what you're saying. I think I know we're a little more crunched for time if we want to get everything done. So I won't belabor things. I'll just say that I think that the fact that it could be utilized for a catch-all or the district policy could change. The issue you're talking about, they could just go write another policy, and now nobody knows about it, and then it's out there, and then all of a sudden, you're in trouble. I think that's a concern with that one too. But we look forward to seeing your reply to that, and your proposal back to us.
Yeah.
And we'll take some more.
Yeah, this one was going to be one with some back and forth. So obviously we're both making steps towards each other. So maybe let's move on to the next one so we get a few more in preparation for the next go around.
Yeah. So moving to Article 17, our favorite article, or one of them.
I'm now, I think, going to be on, but it's saying my mic is on.
Her mic's off. Can you turn it on?
Yes. No, only she can unmute herself.
She has to unmute herself, Dan.
So Nancy, there, if you down at the bottom of your screen, it should pop up and it should give you a microphone signal and also a screen, a camera. So if you kind of scroll down to the bottom, it should something should. Yeah. Okay.
17.
Yeah, please.
Got it.
17 sent out.
All right. Yep.
We just sent 17 over.
And I'm sending it on its way.
I'm sad. She's employed. She works at Robert Halls.
Oh, she is. No, she's the same watching. Yeah.
All right.
Has Nancy got it?
Well, yeah, she's got it. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing for the sake of time. So
Okay.
we're good.
Okay.
So what article are we looking at?
17. I just forwarded it to you, Nancy.
Okay.
Let me know when you're ready, Nancy.
Okay, I'm hoping that I'm going to get on, but it doesn't look like it's happening. Okay, I got to go to, I'm getting out of that. I'm going to cancel. I'm going to go to the inbox and get this article. Okay.
Yeah, she could be she can still be in another meeting, so her mic can.
Yep.
Okay.
Wayne, go ahead. Go ahead.
You ready?
We're ready.
Okay. So yeah, once again, all that blue language is things we're agreeable with. Do you guys have the echo too?
Yeah.
Okay. Yellow is what we're keeping from our original proposal, and then green is things we're changing. So you've already seen all that blue and yellow going down to 2E. So we heard you in the last proposal, and we understand that double pay is going to be a burden on the district, but still there's people coming in those days and they're risking their safety. So we will want to meet you halfway with time and a half. So we have there. So you've seen that stuff before, down to the green at the bottom of the page. You want to scroll down? Somebody?
Scroll down some more, Kevin. There we go.
So with the long-term closure part, we got some of this from the Lake Oswego contract. They had some really good language, and they were able to come to an agreement with it. So we've also included some of your language. Typically when these things happen, they are rare, but you already have budgeted for that. And if the closure is going to last longer than 10 days, this gives ample time for bargaining beyond that to figure out what to do. Also addressing one of the concerns from our members is this also helps them not be scared or, trying to hold on to those personal days so in case they need them for snow days. It's a lot more flexibility there for them. So as you can see, this is way simplified down from 2 pages down to a nice clear paragraph.
And the idea here, like I said, Nancy's probably familiar with this language, like Michelle said, there's some of it anyway. We tried to, typically you're budgeted for, like even with this Corona stuff, you were already budgeted for the year. The 10 days, like Oswego got their act together because they had 10 days to sit down, figure it out, get a plan in place. And that's what we're looking for here too. And it doesn't say this in here, but I think we definitely would say that, if we had to make up time, we'd make up time for that, that would make sense. But in the meantime, people aren't blowing up their personal time and not getting a day off to do something, with their family or whatnot. So it's just an attempt to try to simplify it, but, let us have the ability to sit down and, have that discussion, and people can be a little more, feel a little more secure about things. With that, I'll turn it over for any questions.
Nancy's not in the meeting right now, so.
Oh, no question.
Well, I think she's
here.
here listening on the phone. So I think, maybe for the sake of today and trying to get a few more articles in our court in preparation for the 15th, given kind of everything that's going on, it might just be better just to kind of pass them back over to us. I know what these issues are because we've clearly dealt with them in terms of, wanting premium pay. That's going to, just being honest, that's going to be a tough one. We will look over the language related to, what happens with employees in leave situations, and just prepare for something to come back next time.
Okay. That sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're familiar with it, and it's pretty clear. All right, we're going to move to Article 18. Can you send that, Ty?
18 going on.
And our interpretive dancer will be presenting that. Did you guys get it okay?
Yeah, I've got it.
Welcome, Nancy.
Hey.
All right, there we go.
All right, you get, are we putting it up?
Yeah,
There it is.
all right.
Right.
All right, Article 18. Let you know everything that's in blue is what we agreed to. Everything that's in yellow is language from our original proposal. And what's in green is language what we changed. Okay, go start off with the sick leave bank. So we took some of your comments and made a new approach. With the new approach, the members making the decision for the sick leave bank would come from the groups that joined the sick leave bank. And an example that would be if OSCA and confidential employees join in the bank, one person from each group would be making the decision for the sick leave bank. And it would be open to any group that would want to join. We feel this would be created a more collaborative approach.
And the language change is very significant, but it's very small. It's really at the start and references to it. And like he was saying, like Ron was saying, really what we're trying to do is we heard about what you were saying about, hey, we have all these different groups under the board policy. Big concern there is that right now I suspect people holding on to their sick leave like it's gold because of the pandemic. Whereas if we had an ongoing bank, the dollars would be in there for people that needed it at all times. And this opens the process up so OSCA is not controlling it. It's opening it up so that if administrative wanted to come in and, confidential wanted to come in and, the teachers and the classified, they would each have a person that would be on that sick leave bank board, and they would make the decisions for the claims coming in, how things are to be done. So it'd be more collaborative, and it would allow people from each unique background to have a say in what's going to happen to that. That's the idea.
Well, I think our position on this is we like what we have. We've had members at every level or every classification access it. I just I don't see this being that necessary because we have classified folks utilizing this currently.
Well, I think, Dan, this predates you and me, but part of the problem is that there's lack of transparency on who gets the bank, how many days they get, all that kind of stuff. I guess I can let Ron give you some examples that he's run into.
Yeah, we've had a sick leave bank request don't even make it out of the HR department. It gets to our assistant superintendent, and that's where it stops.
Huh.
It doesn't even get to the school board.
So
that helps determine helps figure out the problem that we're trying to solve. That actually came up in licensed a little bit too, and where we where I'd have to go back and look, but we kind of changed some of the language around so that the gatekeeping process was a little bit more open. So I totally recognize that concern.
We don't have control over district policy. That's the problem.
Right.
You guys, do what you see fit with it.
And we're trying to make a collaborative process here with the different groups, with the district, set it up in a way that it, like I said, right now, I don't know anybody who'd probably give you sick leave because they don't know if they're going to need it, Whereas if we had an ongoing bank, we would have access to it all the time, and there'd be that level of transparency, and it'd be a truly collaborative group working on it together. So all the interests are really set up in that time. So that's kind of the things we're looking at.
So I guess are you providing a bank that there would be a one-time decision by the licensed group to or is this on a case-by-case basis?
I think your question was about people joining, yes, the bank? You broke up a little, Nancy.
Yeah,
Yeah, people can come in, like right now, if classified was the only people interested, then okay. But then later on, you could have teachers join in, you could have folks join in. They just have to make the contributions to be eligible that are laid out in the original proposal. Administration too, and you know, it could be a good thing for everybody at relatively no cost. So it's something that would be a way for us to all work collaboratively together to ensure that people's needs are being met, you know, and that we have full transparency. That's the other piece.
well, I'm not seeing the transparency there, but I guess a concern I have is that, so if
Nancy, you're cutting in and out quite a bit.
sorry. Well, then what the problem is with
Well, Nancy, I think Dan has a good understanding of looking for it here, and maybe for the sake of the technical issues and the time constraints, so we can get everything done, maybe you guys could talk about it in caucus. And Dan, if you want to reach out to me with any questions, or Ron or Vance, we could definitely, if there's something left unsaid, we could definitely come back and do that. And just quick answer to your transparency, if the sick leave board is made up of people from the different groups, the transparency is there so that they can see they're making the decisions, so they can take it back to their members or group. So that's the idea there. But I don't want to belabor it since it's pretty straightforward. And I know, Dan, you got it. So.
Yeah, and maybe I can show you the language change that we made from license, because this was the same theme, Ron, came up there as well. And and so our language so the board will consider requests on a case-by-case basis consistent with board policy, so that requests weren't subjectively held up there. It was the board decision. So maybe I can go back and see what language changes we may have made there on that one. So
Okay.
Other than that, it looks like that one's almost done.
All right, you're gonna like the next one, Dan. We did it special for you. Talking about Article 25. And you know what? You're not gonna get a copy sent to you. You're not sending that type. Lisa, I'm gonna turn it over to Lisa though.
We have decided to drop that proposal.
Well, now I got to pull it up so I can figure out which one I'm supposed to celebrate.
We did it special for you.
Article 25?
Correct.
I can't even find it. Which one is it?
current contract.
Reimbursement uniforms.
Oh, okay.
All right.
All right.
All right, Ty, you're the next two.
All right.
Are we agreeing to current contract language?
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
All right, Ty is presenting the next two, so he's going to send them both to you, Dan. The first one is Article 20, and then the next will be Article 26. So if we can start with Article 20, that would be great. Dan.
Alrighty.
Give us just a moment here. Kevin, I'm sending you two articles on this one, or team actually. So 20 and 26 just came your way.
And these two articles are going to follow the same format where yellow is the original, blue is the we changed, or we agreed on, and green is change.
Okay. That's helpful to kind of have that tracking. Appreciate it.
Huh? Okay, so the first part, we kept the same to match Article 25's language, so we just kept it there for contract consistency. And when you get down to 5,
Kevin, are you scrolling?
I guess I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So once we get down to number 5, you see that we've used a lot of the language from your guys' proposal. We want to make the entire application process have a little more transparency to it. We also bumped up the amounts a little bit more. We also put in rollover language so that any of the monies that are left over can roll into next year. Depending, if we have a slow, nobody uses a whole lot one year, and it can roll over into the next year. And then the last part, C, we wanted to put in language to help with the transparency process. That way we can identify what things are working and what things are not. Just so they can be addressed and we can discuss it.
And sorry about the format. I'm not sure what the heck happened there. It looked fine on the computer over here.
Yeah, it.
Questions?
So, so that the additional part that says any money is not used in the year shall, so the pot of money would grow.
Yeah, that would be the idea, is that it would be, a set amount each year, and then some years where there's, lots of opportunities or there's lots of requests, hopefully we'd have a little money left over from the previous year. It would stop us from having to meet and figure out a solution if we don't, to sustain that. And that's the idea, is they would from year to year, any savings would go to the next year, so we can cover as an influx. Or maybe we get to a situation where we have enough money in there that we can do a few extra things that year. We can sit down and have a discussion about that. Cover books and tuition or something, or whatever it might be, because we would have enough saved funds. It's more of just trying to keep us from having to run out if we don't have to.
Right. Yeah. What we have in our the license contract, that money, the unencumbered money, if you will, goes into next year's pool. So the district, you'd always have those money amounts, but it wouldn't be it wouldn't be an accrual. At least that's what we have in the licensed.
But yeah, you got it right, Dan. We're looking to, because the idea is to have to thwart future fundings. If we have a slow year, we have extra money available, right?
So on the very last C that you added there, a report on the use and amount of funds available will be provided each year on July 1st to the union president. So are you just seeking to figure out, what people used it on?
Yeah, what we're trying to do with that is, again, it gets transparency, but it also allows us to say, okay, there's a real need in this one area. So going forward, we might look at, making sure we're giving that some priority or something. And then the other piece is, if people are not really using it for certain things, then we can say, well, okay, maybe we can deprioritize those. It gives us real-time flexibility each year to adjust, to keep up with the demand of what's needed while utilizing the same amount of funds, right? Versus having to throw more money at it necessarily. If we can fine tune it a little bit better. And that can happen between meetings with the union and the district to we can look at that information and figure out what makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
If it's a big need in one area, then we might want to prioritize that, or we might want to look at doing something different, or, just having that information, in addition to transparency, it also, people can see what we need to adjust as we go along. So we're flexible and nimble and not, plumping along doing it after the fact.
Okay. Well, we'll take that back and discuss it with the team and maybe bring it. Well, not maybe. We will bring you something back next time.
All right. And then we got one last one, and then we're ready for your presentation.
Great. So 26 came your way there, Kevin.
Yep. See, now I know, Nancy, that you have a still frame up there, but it looks like you're staring me down.
Yeah, I think her internet connection is.
All right,
having a rough time.
So Article 26, contracting out. We wanted to revise our proposal, and with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Ty.
All right, so we understand that there may be times where we may need to have a discussion about contracting out. This proposal gives everyone the time to discuss and bargain for our members. Since this can be a huge change for them, the language adds a little bit of a safeguard for them.
And it helps protect our interests. It's pretty straightforward. In fact, the language at the end is from Savings Article 3, so I suspect there's not a ton of questions here either.
So you're increasing the days, and
Yes. And we're putting in a process if we don't agree, like we did with the savings clause in Article 3 that we TA'd earlier today.
all right.
It's the same, pretty much the same language. The other thing too is that, I mean, since we're talking about people's livelihoods here, that they could lose their job, right? So we do want a good heads up on that. And from what Kevin, I think it was Kevin said last time, that they have to do it every so many years. They have to look at that or talk about that. And I don't want to misquote you, Kevin, if you want to chime in, but
I think it was Steve.
Steve.
Sorry, my bad. So I was misquoting him. Sorry about that, Kevin. But anyway, the idea here is that, you know, if you're looking at having those discussions, then it sounds like you'll be able to give us the lead time anyway, so that we can really figure out what we need to do there. And that's the idea behind that. If we're going to have it in the contract, that's kind of what we're thinking.
Okay.
Okay.
Obviously, the days are obvious, and still looks like Nancy's having some issues there getting on. So that last section, green section, we'll have to get her legal input on.
Absolutely. I didn't figure you'd give me an answer on this. Hey, there is one thing since we're done with our presentation that I do want to bring up. Well, first of all, did you have 28 at all, or is that still going to wait?
That's going to wait.
Okay. So we're done with our presentation, and you're done with yours on that. So one thing that we talked about a couple times, I really haven't seen it appear anywhere, was the union's union position A. And it wasn't meant to go in the contract. It was meant just to be something where we agree to meet after the fact when the contract's inked, and, you know, go through and put this contract in some kind of sense, you know, with articles instead of just numbers and sections, and putting things that are alike together, not like, you know, are we agreed on that?
I generally think so.
I mean, it's Nancy's idea, so I assume we were, but I just realized I haven't seen anything back from you guys, so.
Okay, we'll try to make sure we have that back to you, or figure that one out. But I generally thought that was agreeable.
Yeah, I think we pretty much agreed to it in the when we sit down for the rules, but I just noticed going through my records, I hadn't seen a response to that, so I figured I'd bring it up so you guys can talk about it.
All right, so Kevin, if you can go into the financial proposal number 1, cost analysis that Steve sent us earlier, and then I'm sending it.
Dan, I can just share it on my screen, and you can go ahead and send that PDF to Hobie and Ty, or whoever.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, it's sent your guys' way, and Steve will do a screen share.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go ahead and present here. Hello, everybody. See if make sure. Are you seeing a bar graph there, column graph?
Yeah.
On the screen. Okay, great. So I just take the next 10 or 15 minutes to do a couple things. The first is just to give a budget update, and I was going to share a graphic that I put together and shared with our budget committee last night, and kind of walk through that for a few minutes, and then I'm going to share another document that just shows some costing figures that I put together based on your May 19th financial proposal. My role here is just present the data as I have costed it out, and just get that to you. So first is the graph based on for our budget. I know that Hobie, you're aware of where things stand with the state based on the May 20th state quarterly economic forecast, and we've alluded to that over the last few bargaining sessions. And so but what I wanted to do is just kind of present it in terms of...
Can I interrupt you for a second? I apologize. Folks, you're having trouble seeing this. Can you enlarge it a little bit?
Oh, yeah, sure.
You guys emailed this out, right?
Yeah. This, I don't know if this was emailed or not.
I mean, yeah, okay. Yeah, we just got the PDF, so. But if you can, yeah, that's better.
Is that better?
Are we done? Can you get it a little bigger?
As long as you can explain what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, this here is the state school fund scenarios specific to the Silver Falls School District. So over here on the left, we have what the funding level, and of course, the state school fund dollars represent 90+% of our general fund revenue. But basically, this orange bar on the left represents what our official Oregon Department of Education update is. That was the estimate we received on February 25th. Here we are 94 days later, and that is still our official estimate, even though we know there's a possibility that could be reduced. But it's based on the $9.0 billion funding estimate from ODE, which our proposed budget was built on. So this is our official estimate. This bottom right-hand column or bar represents kind of the what was the doom and gloom worst case scenario based on Governor Brown's directive to state agencies to cut their budgets by 17%, which was being discussed back in the end of April into May. That was based on the fact that they were looking at about an 8.5% shortfall with the state, but because all of that had to be compressed into just 1 year of the biennium, that's where the 17% came from. So when they applied that 17% to the state school fund, they came up with a $654 million potential reduction if applied proportionally to the state school fund. Well, since then, of course, we know the May 20th economic forecast came out, and you could see that basically that improved. The situation wasn't as bad as that minus 17%. So that became kind of a worst case scenario of $490 million to the state school fund for the 2021 year. So that just improved. So you could pretty much put an X through this last column. So that helps shrink our gap a little bit just from the forecast perspective. Now I will, as a reminder, say that while next year's numbers didn't look as bad, the next two biennia are not great. The 21-23 and 23-25 biennium, I think they were looking at maybe a 400 million, or no, what was it? Well, I don't remember the numbers, but the numbers are lagging quite a bit to where they were in March, and that was to be expected based on the sharp decline we had in the economy. The good news is that there's more time to make that up. Then from here, what we have there's an arrow going this way, and that represents the Silver Falls School District actions to date. So since the end of April, as you know, we've taken some steps to try to help save some money at the end of this school year. And some of that has been obviously in collaboration with OSEA and SFEA, specifically with regards to the MOU that we came to agreement on the furlough days. So 5 furlough days for all employees in the district to end this year. So essentially that district-wide is those 5 days are saving us a total of about $600,000. And by the way, every 100 million at the state level equates to about $620,000 for the Silver Falls School District. So essentially those 5 furlough days are saving us $600,000, which is about $100 million on the state school fund. In addition, we're also going to receive about $350,000 in federal CARES Act money, and we've also achieved some savings due to the unfortunate closure with saving in the areas of transportation costs, sub costs, and some other miscellaneous items. So essentially, between federal CARES Act money and collaborative solutions and savings areas, we've already helped our cause by about $1.2 million, or in this case, $200 million on the state level. So basically, what that means is that so there's still there's a $490 million gap officially that the state has to address, but our gap, because of these measures, remaining gap for Silver Falls, as of right now, stands at a $290 million gap, which is about $1.8 million. So our situation's improved by about 55%. And what it means at this point is that if the state were to backfill some of the dollars, but let's say they funded, they said, no, we're not going to fund at $9 billion, but we're going to fund at $8.8 billion. We have the ability to spend at the $9 billion level as in our proposed budget and still maintain our desired ending fund balance at the end of next school year of $2.5 million, and still be able to handle that because of these two bars right here, the actions we've taken. So, but this is what's critical is the next step. Here's our remaining gap of $1.8 million. As you know, and what I think we've already talked about it here in these negotiations, there's 3 potential areas that the state can draw from. And this is the first step that we have to wait for. Are they going to tap into the Education Stability Fund? Are they going to tap a little bit into the Rainy Day Fund? And or are they going to transfer some of the student investment account dollars from the new corporate activity tax and transfer some to the state school fund? The governor has clearly said that she wants to try to keep the state school fund whole, and they have 3 different buckets to draw from to help do that. But we don't know yet what that answer is going to be until the legislators come back and make those decisions. And we're hearing that won't happen until at least the week of the 15th. So that's what we need. That's the next step in terms of what we need to hear in terms of what the state may or may not do. What Paul is hearing at the superintendent level is that now the student investment account is down 35% already. And what they might do is transfer a good portion of what's left for that first year, next year, into the state school fund and wait to start that program as a separate program until the 21-22 year. And then wait to tap into the Education Stability and Rainy Day funds until possibly the 21-22 and 22-23 years to help with that biennium because of the way the numbers look for there right now in terms of the deficit. So We don't know yet what they may do, but they do have a pathway to $9.0 billion. So last night, and then I'll get off of this graphic and get to the costing of the proposal. The budget committee in our third budget committee meeting did approve the 2020-21 proposed budget at the $9.0 billion funding level, knowing that we already had a way to remedy a potential $200 million cut to the funding if that were to happen. The next stage in the budget will be that the board has to have a budget hearing and adopt the budget no later than June 30th. So that's kind of where we stand. Before I pivot to the OSEA proposal specifically, are there any questions on this graphic or anything that I said?
I think we're good over here.
Okay, great. I hope that was helpful. I think Dan has sent the this here in an email, and I'll blow it up a little bit. So what I did here was did some costing of the different elements that had economic impacts, and some of these have some assumptions in terms of how many people we might have participate, but most of the major items are pretty solid. But basically, what I came up with was a little over $2.1 million for every area that had a financial piece tied to it. Just kind of to keep it at high level first, and then I'll break down the line items a little bit. That represents about 20%, a 20% increase on the total cost of the wages, salaries, insurance, and some other items for the classified group. Right now in 1920, salaries and wages represent about $5 million. Taxes and PERS combined, which equates to 40%, is another $2 million, and then insurance is about $3 million. So the total cost of salaries or wages, taxes, PERS, insurance, personal days, other miscellaneous items, longevity stipends for this year is about $10.1 million. So I'm showing an increased cost next year of about $2 million, which is about a 20% increase. I do want to let you know that it's always hard when there's not a contract going into the next year. We always have to have the budget done before we know exactly what the contracted obligations are. But I do want to let you know that I do have in the budget, in the proposed budget as it stands right now, what equates to about $375,000 in additional costs for the classified group, which is about a 3% COLA and a $25 a month increase on insurance. So what I have here, just hopefully it makes sense. The cost of living, every 1% equals $71,000. So again, there's about $5 million in wages. So you'd be looking at $50,000 per 1%. But then when you apply the taxes and PERS on the additional money at 40%, you're looking at $71,000. So $71,000 times 10% is $710,000. The $300 per month increase on insurance is $3,600 more per year. We have about 145 or 150 members participating fully in that. That's an additional $522,000 over the cost this year. The step changes, I know in your proposal you eliminated step 0 and added step 8. What I did on this line item actually is because of that request, what I did was I just actually said because of that change to the schedule, that basically everyone in the unit would then be eligible for a step. Right now, I show that there's 113 FTE on step 7. So if there had not been a step 8 requested, less of the membership obviously would have been eligible for the step. And by the way, that those that already stepped out were budgeted out for a step in the budget, for those that were below step 7 for next year. But what I did was I just combined basically the cost of step for everyone, whether they were at step 7 or below in this amount. So there's kind of a mix of two different things, but the average cost of a step is about 3.8% in any specific column. So the additional wages, taxes, and PERS on that comes up to $269,000. The new opt-out incentive, I just, again, took a guess because there's currently 25 waivers. So at $1,000 a month or $12,000 a year for 25 people, that would be $300,000. Now, it's entirely possible that we could have some people jump out of participation here at $1,945 a month and to get coverage and say, I would rather have an opt-out. So there could be some trade-off here that would actually reduce the cost. The child care stipend, again, that was just a random guess as to how many participants there might be. I went with 20 times $3,600 per year. The differential increase, this is our custodial swing shift differential. Currently, I think we have 11 employees here to increase by 3%. The 11 employees represent $397,000 in wages. So I just multiplied that times 3% times the 40% taxes and PERS. This had to do with the proposed increase here on number of days for the leadership to be out. So I calculated a cost to that. I also calculated an increase in 3 personal days. On vacation, I wasn't able to have enough time to dig into it all that deep, so I didn't really address the changes to the 12-month employee vacation schedule. I just kind of looked at the 10-month new vacation schedule there and came up with $70,000 cost increase. Longevity stipends, I went ahead and looked at that in terms of, it looks like right now we have 55 employees who would be eligible at year 9 plus, because the proposal was at the completion of year 8, there would be an annual 5% stipend. I've calculated that would be about an $80,000 cost increase on average to what we're doing right now. So that's how I came to the number that's showing on the screen. So I guess I'd be happy to take any questions I have on my costing out, and certainly we could, once you have time to look at it further, we could talk about it again when we meet on the 15th in terms of any questions specifically you have on the costing.
Well, one that strikes me right off the jump is you have here leadership absent days, 20-day increase, 10 to 30. Obviously, we come back with 20 now instead of 30, but if that's time that's being paid by the union, how is that a cost to you guys?
Yeah, you're right. So that's something that I didn't think about. And also I was just costing it out when it was sitting at 30.
Unless you're making a proposal, Steve, we might be,
no, well, but my mindset was around, like, in this case, and I know, Vance is our only HVAC guy, for example, and I know this, it could be anybody, but we don't have a sub come in, so we would be losing however many additional days of production, so to speak. But it's not fair to say, oh, it's because of Vance. I mean, it could be anybody. But yeah, if you're paying for it, that's essentially not a cost, but it could be a loss of production in the case of if the president's someone that's the only person who does that type of work in the district. But
Yeah, but Vance works real slow, so you'd probably be all right.
what's that?
Vance works real slow, so you'd probably be all right.
Yeah.
Just kidding, Vance. Does anybody else have any other questions about this? Yeah, go ahead, ask.
Well, I was just trying to refer you, like, we weren't adding another step to it, we now we're at 0. The people who were 0 are now step 1. That becomes step 8,
Well-
we're jumping up to 8.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, Steve, that was really for me, not for you. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay.
We can talk about that in caucus. Is there any other questions about this proposal? Well, Steve, I think you got us all clear on where you guys are at.
Okay. Thank you.
Actually, I had one
Oh.
question. What'd you say was the budgeted amounts for it? Said you had a budget,
We had $375,000 in additional costs, which really, again, was a step plus 3% and $25 a month on insurance.
Right.
So those were the what went into the proposed budget, or what they call the budget assumptions, saying, these are probably the likelihoods of what labor costs are going to be for those groups. So,
Right.
so yeah.
Yeah, that's understood. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Is there any more business, Dan, or are we done with today and just work on our own?
Yeah, I think we're done. I know that we have some business to take care of tomorrow and some other issues non-related to this. So I'll see you guys tomorrow, and
Bring the TAs.
yeah, I will have them there before you guys arrive, ready for signatures. And I look forward to seeing the rest of the team here in a week to I guess about a week and a half.
All right. See you then.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.